give a picture of who you were as a high school student? Like
Yeah.
what kind of a kid were you and what kind of a student were you?
So I definitely had my struggles with, turning in things on time, having the motivation to attend classes, and really just the social part of high school I struggled with a little bit. And, I was really thankful for the success program because I met my best friend Hannah there, who still best friends with today, which is awesome.
Hannah, I know you're watching, and don't worry, Hannah, you are on my short list. All right, continue.
Yeah. So it's, when I went into the success program and when I went into the academy, I did meet a lot of great people, had a lot of, great teachers. But again, I did struggle a little bit. And as it turns out, actually, I got tested before college and it turns out I have ADHD.
Mhm.
So it started to make a little bit more sense then. And I did medicate for a little bit, but I ended up, switching off of it. And I found really healthy ways to just cope with it otherwise. And, I think a lot of that has to do with me finding the Lord, but also finding what I'm most passionate about, which is horses and teaching. And I'll tell you, it really it feels like a 180. And, a lot of that I have to give thanks to God and also the success community and mountain campus as well. That
Yeah.
was a really big turning point for me. And COVID too, that was tough. That kind of put a little bit of a backpedal on things, but I think if you find something that you really love and if you just go for it, it's so worth it. And school stops feeling like school and it feels more of like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to learn something I actually care about and something that's going to
Yes.
be useful.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
because like the stuff that you're forced to learn as part of your compulsory education
yeah,
is just that. It's like what you have to learn, and it doesn't
exactly.
really always make sense, and it's not interesting to you.
Mhm.
And and I just remember like you having those struggles of like, why am I doing this? Like this is just
Yep.
not like fun or not interesting. And yet you stuck with it. And so the book, The Alchemist, just to kind of continue that analogy, it's alchemy is magic. Alchemy is turning lead into gold, right? And that's really what like the word alchemy means. It's this mythical ability to take something worthless, even poisonous, and
Hmm.
make it into something incredibly valuable,
Yep.
right? And you're talking about that. You're talking about with faith and
Yep.
with passion,
Absolutely.
and whether that's a faith in like a specific God or it's just a faith in the higher power or if it's a faith in yourself or like their faith that you're meant to do something and then also leaning into the thing that you're meant to do, which for
Absolutely.
you was equine studies and your passion for horses. So talk us through a little bit about, well, tell us what you're doing right now. I mean, for people who don't know, and where you're sitting right now, share with us what you were telling me before the call started.
Well, I'm actually sitting in the barn with the horses. So I actually just stay with the horses. It's really nice if you have an on-site manager with horses because a lot of times, the horses will be a little bit stupid and, not to their own fault, but, a lot of times the manager has to step in. And there's been times, even in the past, 6.5 months that I've been here, where I've had to step in and help a horse at, 11 o'clock, 1 in the morning. Yeah, it's just easier this way.
Give me an
But
example. What does the horse do at 1 o'clock in the morning? I want to know.
so at 1 o'clock in the morning, a lot of times the horses are trying to get a little bit of rest. And so horses are very heavy. They're about like 1,200 pounds. And what happens is if they lay down and they lay down too close to the wall, they can get what's called cast. And it's actually when their legs get caught against the wall and they can't turn themselves over. The problem with horses being so heavy is that they can only sleep laying down for a certain amount of time. They actually have what's called a stay apparatus in their legs that allows them to engage them and actually sleep standing up. So if you see a horse dozing while they're standing, they're probably sleeping. But if they lay down and they get their legs caught, they can't really get over. So we have to go in there with ropes and actually manually pull the horse back
Yeah,
over.
flip over a 1,200-pound horse.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're like 105, 110 pounds like me, it's a little bit of
Yes.
a challenge, but you just keep heaving and hauling.
Wow. It's a
Yeah,
labor of love.
it definitely is. And with horses, it's day in, it's day out. It's 7 days a week, no matter what. And even holidays. So when everyone's enjoying Christmas in the mornings with their families, I'm out in the barn turning horses out, feeding, getting water. And I don't mind it. I actually love it. It's a nice, peaceful start to my day, I would say,
Yeah.
but
Now,
it's not my whole
is it
day.
a family affair? Is your mom involved?
Yeah, so it actually is a family affair. So they own the facility and I lease out stalls from them. So I own the business side of it. And, my job is, pay for the stalls, pay for the horses, maintain and keep them in working condition. I give lessons. We are going to be opening up to boarders in the spring, which will be nice. It's just been a little bit of a labor of love over here. But
Because
everything.
you took over the stable. Was it in poor condition when you took it over?
I wouldn't say poor, but it certainly needed some love. The stalls, they needed a little bit of revamping with the watering system. There was a point where there was no water here, and that was a little bit of a struggle for us. And, the water's still a little bit odd. We have more than enough water, but, still trying to figure out the system. It is a commercial system, so it's very complicated and intricate, but it's everything is a learning curve. And the great thing about horses is you never stop learning, even like to the end of your days, you'll never learn enough about them, which is most of the reason I decided to go in this field.
Yeah, so let's go with that. Like, you always were interested in horses. You've ridden as long as I've known you, at least.
Yeah, my
Um,
whole life.
yeah. Um, so were you worried about taking something that was interesting to you and making it a job? Or did you know that like following it, like if you enjoy every day of work, you're never really working?
It was a little bit of both because knowing what equine was before going into this degree, I had the
What
ability
was
to,
your degree? Well, just identify what your degree was.
yeah, equine instruction and training. It's a bachelor's of science. And so when I went into that degree, it was nice to have the background from, living on a farm with horses and understanding this is, an everyday thing. And I mean, I had been doing it for years and I was willing to learn more about it. And, I went into college and I really thought I knew a lot about horses. Oh my gosh, JP, I got up from my first class at the end of it and I was like, I know nothing about horses. I graduated from college and I did very well. I learned so much and, went out to horse shows and did all of that. And I'm telling you, there's still so much left to be learned about horses and really anything that you put your mind to, the learning never stops. And that's why I really decided to make the morals of the company kind of our slogan, dedicated to the horses and everlasting education. And I think that took me like 2 minutes to come up with.
It
But
was so obvious to you.
yeah. I mean, and gosh, we started, my parents helped me out a lot with like kind of the logistics of everything, but we started it actually April 1st of 2022 was when the LLC officially was moving along. And before we had this place, I actually wanted to give it a little bit of a test go. I had worked for other barns in the past. I'd managed my own horses, but I had never ran my own lesson program, and that can be a little bit of a challenge. And last summer, not the one that we just went through, actually, the summer of 2023.
No, you're getting old if you can't keep track of your
I
summers.
know. Ah! So in 23, I was actually in Londonderry at the Magic Meadows
Magic
School.
Meadows. That's
Yeah.
what I didn't even really know that you were in Halifax. I thought you were still in Magic Meadows. So this has been
Oh,
interesting information to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like relocated, but the Magic Meadows was really an amazing opportunity to learn, what it was like to run camps, run lessons, deal with like boarding and, keeping the horses in shape, getting the horses ready even. Because again, I was in college, so the horses that I used, they were, had the winter off. So it was a matter of spending several months ahead of time before
Conditioning them.
the program to get them ready and
Mm.
get them safe and get them healthy for it.
Did you hear that Mr. O passed recently?
I did.
Just so
Oh,
sad.
I know.
Mr. O is what my daughter Brooklyn learned to ride on, and my stepdaughter Althea learned to ride on Mr. O as well.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
he was a saint of a horse. Oh my goodness.
totally. Um, so like so that's the passion side of things, right? But the alchemy is faith. So
Yeah.
like what were the challenges along the way, other than like the struggle to learn, but then when you leaned into the passion, the learning became easier?
Yeah, so the more that you kind of find what you love and the more that you get deeper into it, the more at least I seem to want to know about it. And the thing about horses is that it can be very unforgiving at times, whether it's the weather
Mhm.
or the horse itself or
The water.
the water
Yeah.
or the community even, because being with horses, it's a very small group. Even though there's so many branches of the industry, it's everyone knows everybody. And that's where I really stepped into my faith, where I'm like, Lord, I need some wisdom here. Lord, I need a little bit of guidance. And that's definitely helped me to not only like kind of take a step back, but to say like, it's that you're not going to be able to do something about everything. And it's best to just take it one step at a time, nice and slow, hope for the best,
So
and
the prayer and the allowing God to take the way, like, and
absolutely.
just trusting that it, like, even though this moment sucks or whatever, like it's going to be better.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And if it's his will, it's his way. And the other day even I was taking my truck to go pick up a load of mats for the wash stalls for the wash stalls to be finished. And the truck started overheating on the way there, so I had to turn around and come back. And I was just praying to get back and made it back in one piece. Truck was fine, and was able to go out and get my mats. But again, it was just in that moment, like I wanted to be frustrated, I wanted to be mad. I'm like, oh, this truck. But
Yeah.
I just took it slow on the way back and did it with his will and his
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And the community, I know obviously like we're not gonna name names or speak poorly about anybody because that's
Of
not
course.
the right way to go about it. But can you talk to me a little bit about like what those feelings are? And I mean I've I've felt in education. I mean I'm not a BBA anymore, and part of
Mhm.
that is there were some teachers that didn't like my approach. They thought I was too forward with kids. They thought I was, I don't know, too friendly with kids. And I would take kids' sides over teacher sides. And I'm like, yes, actually, I will take the kids' sides over the teacher sides because we're here to serve kids. We're not here to serve teachers. Teachers are the servants of the kids. And as you said, you're the servant of the horses. So
Yes.
like I would imagine that you would run into similar, like you see trainers that don't treat the horses the way that you think is like, what are some of the challenges that you face in that sort of realm?
Yeah, so there's definitely, I mean, the obvious ones. Sometimes you'll see trainers you don't agree with, and other times trainers aren't going to agree with you either. And with horses, there's so many different ways, and it's hard to really judge which ones are right or not. And that's when I usually turn to USEF, which is United States Equestrian Federation, and I look and see what they say.
There are standards.
Yes, yeah, of course, absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
it's a super, highly regulated sport. But again, I just looking into more of the people, you'll find that sometimes even though it's very much a hospitality industry, putting the horse first isn't always everyone's go-to. Sometimes it's more of, about the ribbons or about the money of the horse. Sometimes it's about the placing, and what I've seen a lot of is thankfully not here, but in the past and from other friends telling me in the horse community, growing up in horses as a young rider, they face a lot of scrutiny from not only the trainers, but the parents and from the judges and from the other competitors. And, that's where you start to run into issues where you see the big Eck diet, where, riders are falling off because they're not fueling their bodies enough. And, if you don't fuel your horse isn't going to perform the same way that if you don't fuel yourself, you won't perform. So seeing that is really disheartening. And, I try to make it a point to be as approachable as possible to everybody, no matter what age they're at, because to anybody that can happen. I mean, you see riders that are in their 60s, struggling with that. And, it's something that the industry should really recognize, and, something I frown upon, because it's our job to protect our riders and to protect our horses.